Well, basically, the authors of this report have accused the French government of concealing the true impact of nuclear testing in French Polynesia in the 1960s and 70s. So this was the result of a 2-year investigation by a group of researchers from Princeton University and the French investigative journalism group Disclose, and also an environmental group called Interpret. And what they did is poured through thousands of declassified documents relating to nuclear testing in French Polynesia. And what they've concluded is that up to more than 100,000 people in French Polynesia at the time were potentially exposed to dangerous levels of nuclear radiation. And that's a number that is far greater than the French government has acknowledged to this date. In fact, the report found that 90% of people on Tahiti, which is the main island in French Polynesia, were exposed.
So what will this all mean for people who were in French Polynesia at the time of the nuclear tests?
Well, the French government has set up a compensation scheme for people who were impacted by nuclear tests in terms of illness, but a very small number of people have been able to successfully claim compensation. I think it was only 63 people. And that's led the authors of the report to refer to this compensation scheme as an unscalable wall, because hundreds of people have been knocked back with very little explanation. And so the authors of this report are now stating that up to 100,000 people that were in French Polynesia at the time may be eligible for compensation if they were to develop illnesses likely linked to radiation exposure. And there are already documented cases of illnesses such as leukemia and thyroid cancer in the region.
What implications could this have for the French government?
Well, the authors of the report are calling on the French government to increase its transparency, and I did speak with one of the principal investigators from Interpret, who says there are still many documents relating to nuclear testing that haven't been made public, and they want to see those documents declassified as well. It'll also be really interesting just to see how many more compensation claims are made as a result of this report and how the French government handles those.
Can you tell us a bit more about the effects the nuclear testing had on people? What did the report find?
Yeah, so there's been cases of cancer clusters, people who have suffered from thyroid cancer in some of the islands in French Polynesia. And interestingly, what the researchers did, they actually went over to the region as part of this project and mapped out family trees, just looking at the true extent or potential extent of the nuclear radiation exposure.
Marian Faa, thank you.
Thanks, Yvonne.